Welcome back to Sky Sports News. Now let's get more on the suspension of the IPL. The news came this morning after a third IPL team was affected by positive COVID-19 cases and the biosecure bubbles were breached in 2 cities. Well, Shriram Veera from the Indian Express joins us live from Mumbai, and James Cole, our reporter, is across this story for us as well. Shriram, I'll start with you. It's the news that a lot of people have been calling for a while now. Was it inevitable, do you think?
It was absolutely inevitable. I mean, it's more than 2 teams. I think it's spread. Some have come out, some have not come out. It's been a disaster on all accounts, humanitarian, it's sort of lack of conscience, lack of empathy, and also very scary for the rest of the country that is top athletes in the so-called biosecure bubble, where even a ball that goes to your stand is being cleaned and wiped and stuff. And if the virus can breach that, what's the hope for the rest of us? So it's sort of a disaster on all accounts.
Shriram, can you give us some sort of idea of what it is like in India at the moment?
I would say fear, a bit of paranoia. I mean, understandable, because all round is terrible bad news that keeps coming up. In fact, today we heard about a new variant coming from a state called Andhra Pradesh, which is supposed to be 15 times more deadly. So these are the kind of news that's flooding across. You guys must have seen visuals from Delhi, the national capital, last week. That's spreading down. In a state called Uttar Pradesh, we hear, the hinterlands is going to. That's the other major fear, is that it spreads to the hinterlands, where the health system is even worse than what it is in the city. It's gone down south, Karnataka, a state where the city Bangalore belongs to. That's tremendously taken a hit. The COVID is breached there. Chennai, which is in Tamil Nadu, it's all around. I mean, it's spreading. So there is a fear, and most of us, those privileged enough to stay at home to earn a living, are trying to do that. But yeah, it is a matter of life and death now, and it's pretty serious. You cannot overstress how serious the situation is.
Yeah. With that being said, Shriram, do you think that people cared about the IPL at this point, if it was on or not?
Well, people. There has been an argument saying, "Oh, people need IPL. People need some sort of an de-stressor and entertainment. Don't they watch Netflix? Aren't they watching Netflix? Aren't they watching this and that?" But this all could have been easily avoided, because there's an option to the Indian Cricket Board, the BCCI, like they could have played it in UAE like last year, right? Or they could have had a contingent venues planned within the country in Hyderabad and Indore. There was no need to go and play in Delhi. And I'm off the record from a player, one of the guys who has the COVID, been hit. He's saying he felt terrible to play in Delhi. I can't blame him. All around, people are being burned, cremations are happening, crematoriums are full, people are lined up in the streets outside hospitals. It's sort of a civilizational disaster. I mean, in that point, I don't think people really care. People would have, yes, as I told you, they watch the movies or whatever. But there's no need for them to hold cricket in a burial ground, so to speak.
Okay,
if you get the idea.
Yeah, sure. And we'll be back with you in a moment's time. I'm going to bring in our reporter, James Cole, now. James, where does this leave the 11 England players in India for the IPL at the moment?
Well, Shriram's words there put things into perspective, don't they? The 11 players are currently part in India, which is a logistical challenge. Getting them home is going to be really difficult, but the perspective has been given there, hasn't it, in terms of just how lucky they are in the scheme of things. At the moment, the ECB are in discussions with the BCCI, so the Indian Cricket Board, in how to get the 11 players home. It's up to the BCCI, essentially, to sort out their flights for them to come back. But it's not going to be easy, because 6 of them are in Ahmedabad, 5 of them are in Delhi. It's 600 miles apart to start with. Secondly, there are only 30 flights a week out of India currently to the UK. So demand is high, availability is low. And add to that the fact that that's just in terms of getting home. The ECB aren't willing, I understand, to charter a flight themselves. The players could potentially charter a private flight and pay for that themselves if they wanted to get home sooner. But before they can even leave the country, the England players will probably also need to isolate. Some will have come in contact with players who have tested positive. We're hearing that perhaps potentially all players will need to isolate for 4 days, and then they'll need to pass COVID tests as well, probably more than one negative COVID test before they can get on a plane. So the logistics are really, really complicated. Add to that the fact that when they land here in the UK, because India is now on the government's red list, they'll need to isolate in a government-approved hotel, either at Heathrow or Gatwick, for another 10 days. There are ways around that. They could potentially come back via a green list country, but then that adds complications, and also the government here are yet to announce their green list of countries. So it is a very difficult task getting the players back. The ECB are in talks with the Indian Cricket Board, but don't expect it to be soon. It could be at least a week before they're on a flight.
OK, thank you, James. Shriram, I want to go back to you now. I just want to ask you if you are surprised that this decision came this late into the tournament and into the scenario in India at the moment, and why it might have been delayed in that decision-making process. Is it to do with money? Is it to do with the possible entertainment that it could give people at home?
Well, I don't buy the second thing, possible entertainment to people at home. As I said, if they wanted that, they could have really hosted it in Dubai. They could have held it in different places. I think the only reason they pulled off is because of the pressure and the fact that cricketers themselves have fallen prey to the virus. So your bubble that you kept boasting about, that's been breached. So they had no other option left now. And I think I've heard a few more cases going around. So if that, basically it's exploding. So they had no other option. So they waited and waited till it just got out of the hand. You talk about UK. I don't know what's going to happen in Australia, how those players are going to go back. One of the franchisees just had a Zoom conference. Not much details were given, apparently. They were just said that, hold on, we'll get back to you in 5-6 days. Now I can understand the confusion coming in. It's chaos there. So all of them are going to stay put for 5 days. What happens to the players who've already been hit by the virus? So the rest of the team leave. So they will stay back in quarantine with a medical team in place. How do the foreign cricketers go back? What happens to the Indian cricket team players? Because they were supposed to go to UK to play a test match, right? The test match World Test Championship final next month. So now do they go back home and then again you have this quarantine? Is it even possible? There's so many questions. What happened to the broadcasters? BCCI, as some of you might know, the president is a former Indian cricketer, Saurav Ganguly. The secretary is a powerful man, Jay Shah, son of the Home Minister, Amit Shah. So both of them and several others, I think the blame is on them.
OK. Shriram, we really appreciate you talking to us, and stay safe.
Will do. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, James, as well, reporting from Mascot for us.